Call the meeting of the Fiscal Court to order. Welcome everybody this morning. We have several guests this morning, but it is that time of the year again for our Love Light Tree proclamation from the Ladies Auxiliary of the Marshall County Hospital. This is something that we do every year. We have several of the ladies that are here. Welcome to each and every one of you. It seems like just a short while ago we were doing this last year. These years tick off pretty quick. I'd like to read the proclamation. Marshall County Fiscal Court proclamation. This is the countywide observance of Love Light Tree Day. Whereas the Marshall County Hospital Auxiliary is a nonprofit organization seeking always to benefit and promote the Marshall County Hospital. And whereas the Marshall County Hospital Auxiliary has in the past year purchased pagers and IV poles for nursing units, a central sterile work table for surgery, ultrasound cushions for the ultrasound department, non-invasive ventilator for the respiratory department, and whereas the Marshall County Hospital Auxiliary gave the third annual $500 scholarship for a student in Marshall County going into the healthcare field. And whereas the Marshall County Hospital Auxiliary will have provided for 27 consecutive years an avenue for individuals to commemorate and honor loved ones deceased or living by sponsoring the Love Light Tree each December. And whereas the Marshall County Hospital Auxiliary would like to set aside one special day to encourage county residents to remember loved ones by making a donation to have a light placed on the Love Light Tree. Therefore, the Marshall County Fiscal Court does hereby proclaim Friday, November 1st, 2013 as Love Light Tree Day in Marshall County. What's your pleasure?
Make the motion, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. If you ladies would come around, get a signing here. I'd almost ask what we've raised over the years, but it's been a bump. I don't know if y'all kept records on it or not. I know it's been a bump. Yeah, wow, that's great. Good. All right. All right. Thank you. We'll get copies made for y'all.
We'd like to invite all of you
Yeah, for the-
first
and-
and bring the donations.
All right. Yes. The donations are still $10?
We'll take any amount, but the lights are
$5? But take any amount, still a bargain. And the lighting will be the first day of November. That's on Friday. At what time?
No, we're not lighting.
We're not lighting at that time. That's just the day.
That's the day we start.
Okay, and then we'll have a lighting
Lighting is the first Monday in December.
the first Monday in December.
And
Okay.
that's at 5:30.
Okay. Well, all right, thank you ladies so much for the good work that you do.
And if you don't, if particularly want to buy a light, we will accept a donation.
Sure,
If you
absolutely.
don't have somebody you think you want to honor, then we will accept donations.
I think I let
Thank
Right.
you.
I do that a lot.
You know, it's always special when you get to recognize somebody that you've known all your life, particularly someone who served our country in World War II. Lynn Northcott served in the United States Army Air Corps from 1941 to 1945. He ran bombing missions over enemy territory as a turret gunner on a B-17 Flying Fortress, which was known as the Queen of the Skies. He completed 57 missions over enemy territory during his service. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, the European African Middle Eastern Theater Ribbon, a Bronze Star, the Air Medal with 7 oak leaf clusters, Carbine Marksman Medal, and the Pistol Marksman Medal. Now, Lynn, you were a sergeant, right? You are now Colonel Lynn Northcott. We want to present Lynn from Governor, come on up here, Lynn, from Governor Steve Beshear, the Order of Kentucky Colonels, making Lynn a Kentucky Colonel. Come on, Lynn, thank you very much. Okay, but thank you for your service, Lynn. We have a program going now, and it's called the Kentucky Connector. Is that right, Jackie?
Connect, yes.
Connect. And Jackie Eubanks is the project coordinator and works out of the West Kentucky Allied Services. And she's here with us today to talk just a little about that. So
Yeah,
Jackie,
just
come on.
A little bit. Good morning, everybody. From West Kentucky Allied Services, and we are responsible for bringing Connect, which is Kentucky's healthcare connection, to Marshall County, as well as the other 7 purchased counties. I've got a couple of flyers here that I'll leave on the pew by Justin. One of them has information about tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're going to be at the library down here. We're going to be doing an information session from 11 to 1, and then we're going to spend the afternoon taking applications. So anybody who would like to receive more information or would like to apply can come visit us at the library. There's going to be more times and places that we're going to be in Marshall County. We're hoping to be up here maybe one day a week at a facility. The WKS office is kind of where we're headquartered out of right now, but when the heating assistance program starts up, it's going to get crowded in there. So we're partnering with some other agencies, health departments, libraries, places like that, to have different times and places that were set up to be accessible to the community. Also, I've got some flyers that just kind of an overall informational sheet about the Connect program, and at the bottom it has some contact information. All of us are going to be working here, but we've got one person, Sue Hood, who is the primary connector for Marshall County. This morning I also just got off the phone with Michelle at the Marshall County Preschool, and they're going to be having a health fair on the 21st from 5 to 7 at the United Methodist Church over on 641, and so we're hoping to target the parents of the preschoolers there, many of who are now eligible for the expanded Medicaid portion of the health care. So that's kind of what we're doing so far in Marshall County and the surrounding areas. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all all being here. Like I said, at the bottom of this sheet, there's contact information. If you guys come up with questions, a lot of, us don't actually need the health care, but we know folks who do. So if you can help me get the information out, we'd be happy to sit down with them one-on-one and help them work through the process.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
I'd like that contact.
Yeah.
I'd
Pardon me?
like the contact.
Okay. It's right here. And everybody else just grab one issue, walk out, and if you need more, let me know, I'll get it for you.
Next, we have David Milber. David is with the Kentucky Baptist Assemblies. Am I saying that right, David?
Yes, sir.
And David would like to address the court this morning. We will be looking at a bond ordinance that they've asked us to consider and an interlocal resolution, an interlocal agreement with Shelby County. The Kentucky Baptist Assembly has facilities in both Marshall and Shelby counties. A lot of you, like me, remember it as the Baptist camp when it was first started. How many years ago, David?
In the 1950s.
In the 1950s, out on Jonathan Creek. So, David, I'll yield the floor to you at this time and we have with us too Dennis Smith. Dennis is one of our local contractors, been involved with Baptist assemblies, done work for them, has had opportunities to take part in some of the programs there at the camp or the center out at Jonathan Creek. So David, I'll yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Joe.
Kind of explain what you wanted to do.
Yes. What we're looking at doing is expanding our current facilities out of Jonathan Creek. And also with that, rolling in some existing debt we have under a tax exempt bond issue that allows us to finance at a very attractive rate. The facilities we're looking to expand out there, one, we're going to purchase property that is adjoining Jonathan Creek that will effectively double the size of the camp property. Begin a children's age camp there, and then also build a new assembly hall at Jonathan Creek, new housing at Jonathan Creek, and continue to expand the existing property. And Dennis has been working with us for about 12 years out there in various projects, and he would actually be our contractor that we'd be using over the next 12 months on the first round of buildings out there. So any questions further on that?
You might explain the situation also in Baghdad, which is in Shelby
Yes.
County.
Several years, about 3 years ago, we issued working with U.S. Bank, they issued tax exempt bonds at Shelby County. At that time, we had a good amount of expansion we were doing there. And as we started looking this time around, we honestly just preferred to want to go through Marshall County because so much of the existing work would be done through here. And the interlocal agreement, it's an agreement between the two counties that some of the funds or proceeds would be used at both places. So that's kind of in layman's terms what that interlocal agreement is.
And Rob Rothenberger, Rob is the county executive there in Shelby County. And I believe they're looking at the same interlocal agreement today in their court meeting.
That is correct. So, and it's I think just a kind of standard operating procedure. It's more or less legal due diligence to go through on this type of arrangement.
Do you know what the term or the time period for payback is?
It's a 5-year schedule.
Okay. That seems kind of short.
Well, it's 5, it has a balloon on the end, but it's a 5-year schedule that, at that time, we could either
Okay, it's,
finance through a variety of means.
Okay.
So, what's the amount? It'd be about 5.5 million.
The language says not to exceed 6 million.
We're looking at, right at 5.5.
Yeah.
No.
Any questions for David?
Now, I forwarded the court via email last night the ordinance resolution and interlocal agreement as well. And late yesterday, I also received financial documentation regarding the Kentucky Baptist Assemblies, well, some other things after the judge and I and Dennis and Mr. Melber and some other, the bankers and the bond counsel all met by conference call late yesterday. Because when I first email I sent you, I was somewhat concerned in regard to the timing, because we didn't have that. Now we do, and it'll strictly be at this point your comfort level with what you've seen.
Well, the review of the financial documentation indicated that they felt like it was a safe
Right.
safe opportunity.
Yeah, the
for
banks
us.
are in.
Yeah.
I think the financial institution that you use is
US Bank.
US Bank.
Yes. And we banked with them for a number of years as far as our rating with them. I mean, everything is, we have a very strong position with them. So,
And you have groups that come from all over the state to
yes,
these
ma'am. We
venues.
have them actually from all over this state and about 20 different states throughout the summer.
Yeah.
And we'll serve about
And
15,000.
I think that you all shared those numbers with us yesterday. Could you tell me how many kids go through?
Yes, we'll have, during this summer, just at Jonathan Creek, we'll have about 8,000 students come through June and July. And of course, they represent not only Kentucky, but all surrounding states and as far away as Texas. And then the rest of the year, of course, we're open for conferences and retreats. Various schools go out there, some of the Chamber of Commerce, places like that. So we serve a broad cross-section of people from, like I say, more than even just Kentucky.
I wasn't aware of that kind of volume.
I wasn't
didn't know
either.
the volume, But it's a really very nice facility. I've been out there many times.
How do you anticipate this expansion or renovation project will increase your capacity
What it
projections?
will allow us doing, one, we are overbooked for next year. We already have about 2,000 more students booked for next year at Jonathan Creek than what we had attend this past summer. One, it will allow us to house what we have booked. Secondly, with purchasing that property, our plans are to build a whole new camp over there that would be targeted to elementary age students that would allow us eventually to get to the point where we're running 7,000 to 8,000 students on that property, as well as 7,000 to 8,000 students on the current Jonathan Creek property. So our plans would be to double the attendance in the summer.
That's wonderful. I'd make a motion that we enter into the agreement.
Does that also include adopting the resolution, and the, having the first reading of the
That you
ordinance?
sent out, yes.
And, so that would be basically a three-part,
Process, yes.
So ordinance, interlocal agreement, and
in the first reading of the first reading of the ordinance, the resolution that authorizes the judge to sign the interlocal
Right.
agreement.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, David.
Well, I will need to have the first reading.
Yeah,
You want to do that?
you want to do that now? I've got
Whenever.
it on the agenda, but,
Whichever you'd rather.
well, let's go ahead and do it now while they're here in case something. Dennis?
I want to just have David address one more thing for you. Appreciate the involvement for Marshall County. I think it's important that people know how many full-time people they employ out there and how many part-time people they're going to employ. Just so you all can hear the impact that it has on this county, which is substantial. And I'll let David address.
We currently run about 30 full-time people year-round. During the summer, we go to about 160. And then once all this expansion goes through, that'll move us to about 250 people during the summer, which is good for the economy. And, you know, I don't, there's a place called the Hitching Post in Aurora. And if you go by there and ask her how has the camp impacted her in the last 2 years, she would say, I would not be open today had it not been for the people. They sell vintage root beer and various drinks, and some of our camp staff kind of got hooked on it. And we send a lot of our campers down there when they want to leave the camp, and she said it has saved their store. So there's a lot that happens at Jonathan Creek, and there's a lot that does happen in the community that may be surprising to a lot of us. So.
Well, I hope people know, we've had about 2 weeks to review various documents. We're not making a decision in 2 minutes here at probably at home. For people that are watching this, they may think that's a big decision, but Jeff has sent us every document. We've reviewed all your history, all the financials. We're very aware of all that, but I was glad that you added on to let people at home know why we're supportive of the project.
Thank you.
Jeff, you want to move down to new business?
Yes.
The first item there.
This would be the first reading of ordinance number, I don't have a number yet.
Should be 08, I think.
Okay. This is a summary of that ordinance. It's an ordinance authorizing the issuance of industrial building revenue refunding and improvement bonds, Series 2013, Kentucky Baptist Assemblies, Inc. project of the County of Marshall, Kentucky, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6 million. The proceeds of which shall be loaned to Kentucky Baptist Assemblies, Inc. to finance and to refinance outstanding obligations originally issued to finance the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of facilities suitable for use in furtherance of the educational purposes of Kentucky Baptist Assemblies and located within the County of Marshall, Kentucky, and the County of Shelby, Kentucky, providing for the pledge of revenues for the payment of such bonds, authorizing a loan of such revenues, and to further secure such bonds, authorizing a bond purchase agreement, tax regulatory agreement, mortgage and assignments, and authorizing other actions in connection with the issuance of such bonds. That is the summary of the ordinance.
I'm sorry, Jeff, it'll be 09.
For 1009.
2013-09.
Do you need another motion, Jim?
This will be, no. Well, yes, to approve the first reading.
All right.
So moved, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no.
And next is a summary of the resolution. Resolution of the County of Marshall, Kentucky approving an interlocal cooperation agreement with the County of Shelby County, as well as such other public agencies as may subsequently elect to be a party thereto, relating to the issuance of industrial building revenue bonds for the financing and refinancing of healthcare and related facilities to be owned by the Kentucky Baptist Assemblies, Inc. And that is the summary of the resolution to approve the signing of the interlocal agreement. And I think the reason this qualifies is because of the educational nature of your facility to come through the bonds. So, and you have approved, you've already voted to approve that resolution.
So you need no further motions?
No, sir.
All right.
That approves that resolution, and then, which authorizes you to sign the interlocal agreement, which will be, if approved by the Shelby County Fiscal Court today, will be forwarded to Department for Local Government.
Well, we have one correction. It says Judge Executive authorized by the action of the City Council of the city on October the 15th. And that page should read authorized by the County of Marshall, Marshall County Fiscal Court. So we'll make that,
Right.
I guess we can make that correction. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, need no other motions.
Nope, I think that covers.
All right. We'll try to have these signed and ready for you to pick up this afternoon, I suppose.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next, our E911 Director, Jason Luker. Luby?
Yes, sir. I actually put on the agenda today to bring some news to the board. As you all may be aware, we've been working on some funding issues with a grant to upgrade our phone control systems. And I've been in some meetings with the state CMRS board in Frankfurt. And we have been selected as a Tier 1 candidate to receive funding for a remote hosted system to replace our outdated 911 phone controller. That's been a bit of good news for us. We had in the past been working toward
setting aside funds to be able to purchase a new phone controller. And with the advent of us receiving this grant, it's been very good news for us. We're in the early processes of that right now with the state CMRS board. I was just in Franklin a couple of weeks ago, the grant administrator training, and we'll be in the process of submitting the paperwork and going through the process of buying a new phone controller. The award grant that we received was $105,000, which is a very, very good bit of news for us at 911. And we were very pleased we were able to do that. It's fortunate that we were in the early phase of selection. We were the first group of candidates of 911 centers across the state that were awarded these funds. With that being said, and as the court I'm sure is aware, we've been dealing with a lot of overtime issues and a lot of situations in our dispatch center dealing with staffing over the past, actually, over the past year or so. And it's caused us to look and see what may be some of our causes for that. And I got in contact with Emily at the Treasurer's office a few months back, asked that she kind of assist me in getting some information together regarding some pay comparisons for dispatchers with those in other parts of the area. Emily was able to get together a lot of that information and bring it to me. We've looked over that information and believe that may be one of our issues because we seem to be very low and at the bottom of that list.
And hold on just a minute, Libby.
Yes.
You and I have had this conversation.
Exactly.
We get these people, we train them, and that's not real easy to get somebody trained to be a 911 dispatcher. And then they work on mine, because it's strenuous now. You gotta understand, it's nerve-wracking. And then all of a sudden, after 3-4 weeks after we've gone through all this training, they're gone.
Exactly.
And we're thinking that the pay rate has something to do with that. Not necessarily. Everybody's not cut out for it. Luby tries to tell them that when they interview. You know, this is a stressful job. And it is, isn't it, Luby?
It is, and of course, the judge and I have discussed this. The Treasurer's office and I have discussed this. Our 911 board has discussed the issues. And with this bit of good fortune, I think with our grant monies that are coming in to basically fund our 911 phone system upgrade that we're needing to do, we've been over the past several years placing funds in reserves to be able to make those purchases outright, not anticipating that we would actually receive a grant. So what we have looked at in our board is we've tried to crunch the numbers and look at things and try to develop some kind of a plan to figure out how we can implement some kind of a pay equity for our employees to make it consistent with other dispatch centers in the area, while at the same time being responsible to make sure we have a way to fund it and pay for it. When we look at the money that we actually have in reserves right now, we've set aside for a phone project. I've sat down and looked at the numbers, and we know that with our new technologies that are coming with this next generation 911, there's additional costs that come with that. And I've been able to best calculate those costs after talking with folks at AT&T to determine what our increased costs will be for maintenance contracts on our equipment, and also the increased costs because when we go to the next generation 911, we're not using our analog phone systems like what we have today. We're going to a new system that's internet-based and requires what we call a T1 data connection from our dispatch center to AT&T in Madison. Taking into account those cost differences with our maintenance contracts right now, we're looking at a difference of about $15,440 a year. Looking at the money that we actually have in place right now in our reserves, I took into account taking money we already have appropriated, and you're looking for the next 2 years to pay for those costs associated with the increased data connection. That's put us at spending a little over $30,000, $30,880 toward that, that still leaves us around $60,000 that we still have within our budget. What I've tried to do is to sit down and come up with a plan to bring our pay up consistent with some of the other centers in the area. And what I put together is something for each member of the courts to review, to kind of give you an idea of what some of our other jurisdictions in the area are paying salary rise, a little bit of explanation of what I just told you, and I've actually put together a plan of action to implement. Okay. In our plan of action, to where we would be able to seek this funding without negatively impacting our budget as it is. Basically, as you look there on the third page of this budget proposal, I guess you'd say for lack of a better term, we've indicated a phasing process. And of course, if you review on the first page, you'd see some of the hourly rates of dispatchers in Livingston, Carlisle, Hopkins, and Cracker counties, as well as the pay for starting with pay for dispatchers in Kentucky State Police. On the last page is where we put together a plan to take our rates that are already in place and increment them over a period of 3 years to bring them up. I feel if we come in and try to make a very quick raise, while that may sound good, it may not be the most prudent avenue for funding. So try to look at doing this over a period of 3 years. And if you look there, you'll see that I've been in touch with the Treasurer's Office to determine what our actual cost would be in each of these years. If you look in phase 1, implementing an initial raise, for all our employees, it would cost $31,400. Follow up into that second phase of the following year would be $21,050. And then on that third year, implementing the last leg of that pay increase is going to be $10,375. So we're taking that implementation not as one big hump, but just trying to bring this up gradually, incrementally, in such a manner that we can actually pay for it. And I feel that, especially after being in touch with the Treasurer's Office, that this seems to be something that's doable for us. And I think it's going to be relatively, for the most part, neutral in our aspect as far as our increases, because we are able, through our fundings and management of our reserves, to be able to cover this. And that's kind of where we're at with that. Like I said, I think it's a reasonable plan for us to look at in implementation.
I don't know, in your conversation with Joe Barrows, maybe it's just me, I have a little bit of difficulty getting Joe to commit to what's going to happen. Of course,
Well,
we're hopeful, Lou, that in the next session of the General Assembly, or at least by the year 2016 session, that changes are going to be made to help us increase our revenue stream for 911. Now, in looking at this, we're talking about over a 3-year period, the increase is $62,725 spread out over 3 years. Do you get the same feeling I do? They want to do something, but they don't know what to do, Lou?
Well, I think you're exactly right, Judge, and what has happened right now, I'm sure you're probably aware, because I do know that you have a lot of contact with Mr. Barrows up in the CMRS office, familiar with him. There are a couple of things that are going on right now. Two things is, one is Kentucky League of Cities and KCO are both working in the legislative process. According to the League of Cities, they've been testifying for committees with the General Assembly, and they are seeking this as a legislative priority this year. Because while when we look at our budgets, I mean, obviously, we're looking at 7 cities from the fiscal court that cover us. We're probably still in much better shape than other parts of the state. In northern Kentucky, there are some 911 centers that are receiving 45% or more of their budget is through allocation of subsidies through either their cities or counties to go. So we're not in that shape yet, and hopefully we won't be. But some of the things that are being talked about, again, are some increases in the payments of the CMRS, the cell phone taxes or fees that are imposed on the phones.
That's the
to
big
increase
rub.
those- Right, it's the big rib because they're not being paid at the rate that a landline telephone is. And I think that's probably going to be on the legislative agenda. Again, it's too early to tell, but that's one of the things that's actually being considered. Another thing is there are actually two counties in central Kentucky, up in Lincoln and Girard County, that are actually going through a process right now dealing with a fee rather than some kind of a tax that would be imposed on utilities. Understand that that's been a case that the utility companies have been appealing from the court decisions. The circuit court rulings were in favor of the units of government implementing these fees on utilities to cover the 911 cost. But it's still in the appeals process right now. I don't think all those appeals have been exhausted.
I believe that happened in one or more of the northern Kentucky counties.
Correct. So, and from what I understand is that KCO and League of Cities, again, are both watching closely with that, and they're encouraging our local city councils and county fiscal courts to stand steady and wait and see how those rulings are. They don't want a lot of counties and cities getting out here implementing something that may be stricken, but it may be a revenue stream. So there are a few things that are working right now. And that's another reason why we're looking at this implementation of this funding is to do it over a period of 3 years. Is we have time for the General Assembly to hopefully address some of these issues. We all know it's a problem. They know it's a problem. It's been identified as a legislative priority. So hopefully these things will all be resolved before we get to that 3-year period. But we think if we're proving what we're doing right now, we'll be able to do what we're wanting to implement here and still be able to carry it out without depending on that.
Any questions, Luke?
Is that something that you all do as a board? I mean, is
Well,
that a
the
decision?
board, since I am the chairman of it, we have already approved this plan.
This is the recommendation of the board.
Yeah, this
Ken?
is the recommendation of the board. And like I said, of course, we've got to bring it before you guys for y'all's approval. And I think Jason's already talked with Emily, that is something that it is doable.
Well, I would recommend implementing this.
Yeah,
It's getting to the point of being a little frustrating for our director when he hires people, the board hires them. We try to be very thorough in all of our investigations and then get them trained. They last a month and a half, 2 months. And we are spending a lot of overtime, hours, dollars. And we feel like this is a step, maybe not the whole answer, but a step.
At least you got this covered then, I mean, you feel like you've got this covered over the next 3 years at least.
I feel based on the numbers that we've ran and what we've looked at, we think that is coverable.
Commissioner, you got a question?
We're not increasing the subsidy, right?
No,
No.
You're not asking us for additional money?
no.
So I guess I'm puzzled. I thought the board had the authority to make that decision themselves. Of course,
Well,
our
like I said,
20-year agreement initially has expired, so I don't know where we stand with that. Do you?
No. Since
Previously,
we do,
it was-
I think the board's feeling was since we do and still subsidize, although we're not asking for an increase on that subsidy, we still subsidize by $125,000 a year. So I think the board would just feel more comfortable if we were in agreement.
Yeah, I didn't know what the procedure was, because like I said, I did not think of that agreement has expired. If
We need to look at that.
and, but, like I said, our board, we have already approved this because it's something that, as we've tried to hire over the last 3 or 4 times, that is part of the issue. I mean, it's not attractive to come to Marshall County and, do the type of job that they do, because it's a very vital, important job that they do. And whereas we're a training ground, basically. we train them and they can go somewhere else for, more pay, that's what's ended up happening right now, and we're not getting, keeping our quality people. We've got 2 that we've hired this time that I think are gonna be outstanding dispatchers, and we need to do something to retain, and that's why we've implemented this, and I think it is something doable. And again, we're not asking for any increase from the fiscal court, but we feel like that we can make this happen with existing.
Well, and Louie,
Fine.
so people at home understand, we've talked about this issue many times over the last several years about this needing to be done, but we weren't really sure about how to handle it. But dispatchers in Marshall County start out at $9.82. And then after training, which is, several weeks at
5 weeks.
5 weeks of training in Richmond, they go up to $10 an hour. Other counties start out at 13, which is Livingston, Carlisle, which is 10.18, Hopkins 16.56, McCracken's 12.33 starting, but they have a pretty rapid advancement at McCracken. So 12.33, but they top out at 17 in a pretty quick amount of time, and state police at 12.34.
Eventually, I would like to see, and of course, this is gonna depend on what the legislature does in these other, court cases. Eventually, I would like to see 911 do like the sheriff's office. We have increment as years go by, your years of service, years of experience, you get increases. Right now, that's just not feasible to do, but I do feel like we need to compensate our folks that are there now to keep it competitive and keep them there. Because, we've got some good folks right now, but
Just morale.
yeah,
Just
very
morale's a
much
big
so,
thing.
yes.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, they do a fantastic job, and we want to keep those folks.
Do you need a motion? Is that
One of the issues
just
I
one?
want to bring up with y'all's benefit is, the CMRS grant funding we're receiving is actually a reimbursement grant. So we are going to have to home up the initial cost of $105,000, but we're looking at a quick return as soon as we submit our receipts, we receive an electronic reimbursement. And that's kind of another reason, because that really exceeds our earmarked funds and reserves to do that, but we know that the money's there. And I just wanted to make sure we brought this to the court's attention, because I'm really trying to monitor our budget very tightly as we're going throughout the year, and I don't want to be spending beyond our capacity, even though we know it's reimbursable and that we're going to receive those funds. I feel like the court needs to be aware of that. We want to make sure that we're carrying that out. I know I've talked to the treasurer's office, because that was one of my major concerns about the implementation of this program, was that the money would be very tight until we got our money back. And she's assured me that there may be some options available to us that can be a short-term coverage of that
Yeah.
fund until we get our reimbursement, maybe something that can be
Yeah,
leveraged to the
depending-
court. And like I said, I want to bring all these things up here. I don't want us to be going out doing things haphazard with our budget. And like I said, it's one of the
Who's
reasons-
administrating the grant?
Pardon me?
Who's administrating the grant?
I'll be administering the grant.
Through the 911 board?
Yes.
Fiscal court won't be on
Okay.
it. I don't know, I'm asking.
What's
Well,
that?
It won't be through the fiscal court, it'll be through the
It'll
911.
be
It'll-
administered through the 911 board, but it's.
It'll be financed through the
funded-
fiscal
financed
court.
through
They're gonna need our help in
Oh, yeah,
fronting the
to-
money. That's all we're
Okay.
gonna need from us.
I just wanted to-
Yeah, that's what, Jason has been concerned about. Actual timing is if you all, when you choose to implement this plan and the impact that it would have at the time that it comes due for the
Right.
grant, to pay for that grant. And I've told him, that I don't feel like any of you would have a problem, with a short-term loan to the 911 fund to cover the cost for the grant and then reimburse the loan to whatever fund we pull it from at the time. It would be a fairly quick
Right.
turnaround and not,
Because my understanding is we're looking at reimbursement in a matter of days from the time they receive the receipts, they'll do it electronic.
Well, this works the same way with your railroad funding. We turn the bills in, they have a turnaround in Frankfurt. We'll pay the bill, or sometimes we get to hold them, but then the state will reimburse us for work done. Same concept.
Exactly, it works pretty much the same way.
Emily, with that being said, what do you think the quickest that we could start implementation on this? What would be a fair assessment for you that we,
I think you could start it,
probably January 1?
yeah, January 1 would be a good plan. If it's not quite so quick, that we can kind of give us a little bit of time to look at everything.
Yeah.
Plus, give some time for the grant process to
But at the
get
same
rolling.
time, letting the employees know, we're gonna put this in place January 1. We're not gonna just leave you out there.
And of course, the increments over a period of 3
For
years.
3 years, exactly.
So
Exactly.
the grant has been awarded.
The grant
Yes.
has
Yeah.
been awarded, it's a matter of us,
Just waiting to get everything
of us
done.
to sign the final agreement and actually spend the money and turn it in for reimbursement.
Do you need a motion, or is it just a consensus,
I
Judge?
think let's do a motion, that way I think the 911 board would feel,
I mean, what do you think? I mean, it,
Well, I'm confused, Judge. I don't, they have the, even if we vote, they have the authority to proceed on anyway. So Judge, what are we voting on?
Well, you're voting on giving approval of allowing the treasurer to utilize other funds to get them back to the point where they get reimbursed.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the.
That's what you're authorizing.
Okay.
I mean, you-
Fine.
the grant's
But I'm
done.
We still judge our 20-year plan. I don't know where we stand actually, Jeff, today, because the 20 years has expired in the agreements that were signed with the cities and the county. I don't know where that leaves us. Where are we standing today with that?
Well, once you.
Because there's a procedure spelled out in there that stipulates clearly how we're to proceed with these kinds of
Exactly.
issues. And
I
now
mean,
then that has expired.
that board is a governmental unit regardless of that agreement.
Right.
That was in order to get the initial funding and get, I guess, work together to organize it and determine board members and all that. Now, I would assume that does need to be updated, but I don't think it affects the legality of that board existing.
So we're voting for Emily to assist them with the funding.
Just-
initially.
I think that's the
That's
assistance
what I
we
say, they
need,
have,
yeah.
in my understanding, they have the authority to proceed with this
They
regardless.
did. Yeah, they've already, if they didn't need that front money, they
Right.
wouldn't even be talking. They wouldn't
Okay.
have to even be
Right.
talking to you.
I'd make a motion then. We allow 911 to move forward with their plan as presented.
Second.
we have a motion and a second that we agree with the 911 plan and to assist them in funding the upfront cost of all the improvements to be made. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Libby.
Thank y'all.
Larry?
I want to come this morning just to bring the commissioners in on some issues we've had with some Davis parts. I talked to Mike and to the county attorney. At Kentucky Dam tailwater boat ramp, which is below the dam, and the new Sled Creek boat ramp, we've had numerous calls over the past few weeks wanting to know why we're not taking care of the maintenance of those two Davis parts. It was my understanding that I didn't know that we had any authority to do that, so I called Mike to make sure, and he knew nothing of those two that we were supposed to take care of.
Now, if you recall, at one time, it got such a mess down below the dam, we did say, well, we'll assist you to get it cleaned up. This is the Corps of Engineers' responsibility, not ours.
Right. Well,
We did help them once, right, Larry?
Yes. I contacted Nick Morris from TVA. He seems to think that the court has signed memorandums of agreement to take care of those two, but he can't produce those documents. And the reason we're getting numerous calls, they put up signs, the bottom of the signs, that says general maintenance taken care of, provided by Marshall County Fiscal Court.
Did we not get a letter from them? And I think that the court took no action, wasn't willing to do what they asked.
Correct.
That may be what they're talking about,
Yes,
yeah.
I can update you on that. Yes, we had an email with the proposed agreement. That agreement basically, if the county signed it, you would be agreeing to take care of all maintenance and some improvements as the Department of Fish and Wildlife directed. And it was just completely one-sided agreement. Melanie and I have corresponded with, I can't remember the fellow's name now. I've called and sent a couple emails and asking for them to reconsider their position on it, and it's been 2 or 3 months, and we haven't even gotten a response. Usually, it seems like something will happen, and he will call the judge's office, and then Melanie lets me know, and I try to contact him, and then that's kind of where it goes. That's where it ends. But,
And after I contacted him, and told him that we didn't think that we had signed those agreements and he couldn't produce them, then he said, well, it's, you need to talk to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, they're in charge of it. So I got a hold of Mr. Ryan Oster from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and he's going to investigate it. But in the meantime, he has let us take the lettering off of the sign saying that we're responsible for those two. But I wanted to make y'all aware of it in case anybody questions y'all, you know where we were on this.
and I mean,
My
I think,
understanding, we're not to take care of those
No.
two.
my understanding was that the court was willing to assist in maintenance, but it was just such an open-ended, vague,
Right,
language.
when we were
didn't
first
do.
contacted, down below, I believe it was below the dam, right, Larry? It was such a mess.
It still is.
And we went down there, had our guys go down, pick up all the litter. They did some weed eating and whatever, cleaned it up, and that was it. And I guess they thought with that, well, okay, we'll just let them do it. Well, that's not gonna happen.
Now, on the sign, it does say that we participated in the funds to establish that at the Kentucky Dam Tailwater Boat Ramp, so that Marshall County participated. And at the Sled Creek one, it does have the sheriff's office on there to contact in case there's any problems on the, because it's in Marshall County. They put up these signs and just put what they want you on.
That's right.
Like I said, I just wanted to make y'all aware of that, in case you do any questions.
Now, we did speak with TVA folks about the Sled Creek place. And, yeah, they did say that they put a sign up there, that, you know, call the local law enforcement, which would be us if there was any issues or problems out there. And what our issue is, you know, we've got people pretty much setting up camp out there. And their solution to this problem was, you know, because TVA still has a police force, so they say, inspectors, and he actually lives outside of Paris, Tennessee. And he did say that they would come by and check periodically to see if these same folks were there, ask them to leave. If not, then they will contact us, and then we can come down and assist them with trespassing. Still, that's not a plausible solution in my opinion, but that's what they come up with and what they said they would do to be able to help us.
But they have
It's
allowed us
not
to
much
take
help.
off the lettering that says
Good.
responsibility.
I believe I can track down the information you're looking for and where it all got snagged up with Mr. Reister. I think I can locate that for you. I'll get with you.
We have with us, and I didn't ask her to speak today, but our new interim director at the Marshall County Health Department, Tina McCormick, is with us this morning. Tina is in her second round as our interim director. Tina worked for us for years and with Purchase District before that, retired from Green River Health Department. And Tina is getting the Health Department very active in community affairs. I think you have some things lined up for Paint the Town and Benton and Calvert City.
Yes, this weekend's Calvert and next weekend's Benton. We're not just doing that when we go out, we're too much single focus, so we're trying to promote everything we do. Instead of just saying we're doing Paint the Town Pink, we're gonna do it all. So when you see them out there talking about other things, because we're trying to sell it again. It's, you know, we need to sell the health department. Everybody needs to know where we are, what we're doing, and how to find us. So that's what we're working on right now, working on some morale issues and increase in interaction and communication with our leadership in that department, and hopefully you will see some results. You are out in the community. If you have questions, please call me, because I'd let you know as much as I know, I can't act on it. So.
Thank you, T. Let's go to correspondence. Anybody else here to address the court? I'm sorry.
I believe you remember me, Judge. Thank you, William Zimmer. I'm here to address the issue on our road, Whispering Hills Lane. You told me in the past that there was an ordinance passed that all roads had to be to grade before Marshall County would pave.
That is correct. There are certain standards. We have ordinances.
Right, I'm aware of that.
And I think you told me that the guy that developed that said they were gonna do that and then turn it over to us.
Yeah.
And my answer to you was, if I recall, well, then make him stick to his word, because, you know, it is unlawful for the county to do work on a private road. I didn't write the law. That's the law, and has been since I've been in office for 40 years. I know we've got a problem there. You've got a problem there.
We got a real problem there. Jason, he left, he'll vouch for me, he lives at the end of it. What I want to know is, when was the ordinance put into effect? And was it put into effect before or after this road was there?
The
And
first
so-
the first ordinance that we put into effect goes back to the 1970s. Because, Marty, were you county attorney at that time? Or was that during Powell?
I think it was 75.
In 75, I think we put the first ordinance in. And then, yeah, Powell Howard was county attorney at that time. Now, we have revised it several times since
The
then.
most recent is 2006.
2006, okay.
That's the revision now. The ordinance has been there
For 14 years, and I'm wondering if we would be grandfathered in.
after, how many years?
What- No, there's no actual grandfathering of a road in. If a road's been in 15 years, it can come in as an existing road under this same ordinance.
And we could have it paid.
Right, you have to share in the cost of that.
We've been trying to do that for the past 3 or 4 years, and we're just beating our head against the wall. Now, we tried to get a lower rock in here about 6 weeks ago. We had to turn the truck away because the truck couldn't get up the road. And neither can emergency vehicles, so, you know, you try to.
Well, now, we just did a road,
Opal Lane.
Opal Lane, where the residents themselves paid for the upgrade and the blacktopping of Opal Lane.
Well, they must have an awful lot of money because there's only 3 houses on that road that I know of.
Opal Lane, there's about 20.
On Opal Lane, there's a bunch.
Well, they must have moved in.
I think it was,
Here.
I think most of them, it was $10,000 each, Jeff, is that correct?
Yeah.
Each of them paid
Well, we-
$10,000.
We presented a deal where we asked to have our taxes assessed.
Now, there's a way that can be done. Jeff, you want to explain that?
Nobody ever just petered out. I don't know whatever happened to it.
Yeah, I remember some of them talking about, I'd been contacted that you all were gonna do that, but I never did hear anything else.
I think it all ended in your lap. You're supposed to let
No,
us
it
know.
doesn't end, that doesn't, I can't do that for you. You have to do that yourself, because I represent the fiscal court.
Right.
And then once you create that and do that, you can, you can raise the money then to get the road improved and get it brought into the system.
So if they want it added to their property tax bill, what do they need to do? What do they need to get to the court to be eligible for that?
Jason wrote a letter.
Jason's got a letter that explains all that.
Yeah.
Here's a letter that I wrote, I think it was this was originally to people at Opal Lane.
Opal,
Yes.
No, it was, that and the Cary Landing thing.
Yes.
There's a copy of the procedure.
Right there.
Is that what you're
That's
most
the same-
interested in?
I shared a copy of that letter
Yeah,
with
we'll have to
your
do- we're
group.
beating our head
Okay.
against the wall there.
Well, this is the letter that went out to,
Well, I shared a copy of that letter with their group way, long time ago.
How long did you say your road has been in existence? 14?
14 years.
So you're still like a year. One more year, you could come in an existing road, that we can share the cost.
If it meets the criteria.
Yeah, it has to.
now, there are several steps. I'm not gonna read it all here, but we need to get him a copy of this. If he had, did you say you'd given him a copy of this?
I did.
I don't recall getting a copy of it. Unless you said it somewhere else.
I gave it to Tammy, and she used to work for us. She lived out there. What was her last name? Yeah, Tammy.
Committed suicide.
No, but this was before that.
Well, we never
Well,
Do-
I know there were meetings, because there was several
there was a
people.
lot of meetings.
I don't know, right, and because some of the people that inquired about it, but
Do we
We're gonna
also
get
need
you
to,
copies of this.
do we also need to get a paving estimate just to help identify what type of funding we would be looking at, either by way
no,
of a cost
there's a
share?
lot to do before you get to that point.
Okay.
I mean, we can get a paving estimate, but if what I'm hearing him say, it's in such bad shape.
It's,
Uh,
you had an estimate done, I believe this gentleman here was out there, and it was around $110,000.
And how many people you have living on the road?
There's 11 or 14 families, I can't remember which.
So
Judge,
similar to
Gary
Oklahoma.
Atkins and I looked at that road right after I started here in 2007, I believe. We took a look at the road then. I think that was similar estimate at that time, around $100,000 for them to bring it up to specs.
Our house is only worth half of what you should get it for, because of the road. There's a lot of problems, a lot of problems. And we're all taxpayers, we're all voters.
And I understand that, but also you must understand that we have to operate under Kentucky revised statute. And the statutes are clear on what we can and cannot do when it comes to being on private roads.
Judge, I
We
live
have
on
many
one just like
developers.
it.
Huh?
I live on a road just like it.
Yeah. Well, but we've had this happen, and the reason we put the ordinance in to begin with, back in the 70s, we had developers come in. They would sell the property, throw a road together, and say the county's gonna take it over. And in many cases, up to that point, the county was doing that, and the roads were falling apart. So we saw we had to do something, and we did. Now, any developer that tells you, because we have preached and been on the radio and the newspaper and everything else for the last 30 years, that if you're gonna build a subdivision in Marshall County, you're gonna sell lots in Marshall County, you must meet certain standards for the county to take that road in. And unfortunately, people a lot of times don't ask the question, do we meet county standards? It's unfortunate, I mean, but we'll try to assist you in any way we can, but
I'm gonna go by this.
yeah, if we can go by that and you get your neighbors together, I'm willing to meet with them at any time.
Okay.
And if it's over a period of time, there is a way, Jeff, I believe you said, that you maybe pointed out in that letter, that a special taxing district can be formed where that can be paid for over a period of time, adding to the tax bills of the residents. So,
Jeff, is it an option to take in, if by request, a road into the county road system as a gravel? I know I have some in my district, but I didn't know if the new ordinance did away with taking in a gravel road unless it was built up to spec. Would it be something, if they were to petition the court to at least take it in and help get the gravel to where it's more accessible? Would that be a quicker option, and then work long-term on the paving
Well, you
aspect? Is that
could.
an option?
I mean, you'd have to change your,
ordinance.
That's what I was asking. Is there a provision in the ordinance that would restrict them from,
if you're gonna start maintaining gravel roads.
other than the ones we already have in the system?
Right.
Okay.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Marty?
Yes, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. The mayor asked me to come over this morning and just lay out for you all, I guess it's doing a little begging, it said, but what we've run into, and I'm sure everybody's aware of it, we ran into a situation in the development of the Children's Community Arts Center down here. In the parking lot, we ran into a situation where we ran into human remains there. Because this was a federal grant, we had to go through the process of hiring the archaeologist to go in and study to be sure that there was nothing that we were doing that would be inappropriate. We have now worked out a plan to resolve that issue. It will take some doing it on our part, but we're going to get that done. The mayor asked that I come and talk with y'all and see if y'all would be willing to assist us in the payment of a portion of Dr. Carson's fee. That's going to run us about $7,500. Part of it we think we can recoup through the grant funds, and we're initiating that process. But this was an expense we didn't expect, and I think we were kind of surprised by it. But we would like to see if y'all would help the city in paying a part of that. We've cooperated on that project almost from the start. So this was not something that anybody expected, or certainly not. So if we had known it from the start, we probably wouldn't be building our center there. But
Just that one little baby, is that all that was found?
That's all, they think there was more there, but they had been overturned, that there was no way they could really isolate it. But we did find the one small body, and we think there were at least 5 more there, but we can't be positive about that. But we did work out a plan with working with Russell and his people. We brought Dr. Carson's in. They did a very thorough project of removing this slowly, taking the gravel off the top to make sure we didn't find anything. He was there every day and supervised all that work. Russell, I think y'all are through now, aren't you? Or just about through?
Well, we're having to wait till they do something with the burial or something as far as putting it.
We worked out a plan to preserve what we did find, and we've got an approved plan through the state to do that, and the family's approved, the Brandon family. So all we're talking about, hopefully, would be no more than about $2,500. But if everything goes according to all with it, that's what we're looking at on Charles Park, and the city would pay that. It's right at $5,000.
You've heard the request, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to pay for the 25.
We have a motion to pay $2,500 toward the archaeological fees down at the Children's Arts Theater. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I appreciate your help. And as I said, I'm glad we didn't do any more, find any more, but and the situation, and for everybody want to know why we didn't do that, but run into this earlier. I mean, there was a grocery store on top of this thing. There was Austin's Food Market was right on top of it. So we would never have thought of a situation like that there.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
And just one other point, Jason and all of us are meeting on the animal ordinance on Thursday afternoon, and hopefully we'll finish that work Thursday afternoon.
Thank you.
Marty, while you're here, you have any update on Fleetwood?
Unfortunately.
Mess you up here, but I want.
No, but we have had some reversals in the situation out there. They discharged the firm that we were working with. They were not being able to get anything done. I spoke with the bond counsel in Louisville just last week. I told them that if they could not get the approval of that deed, that the money that we had advanced, we'd advance them $10,000 in anticipation of getting title to that property taken care of, that we wanted the money returned. So the indication I got was that the bond counsel in Louisville was going to withdraw the proposal we had to get title to it, and we were going to turn it over to them to just foreclose on the bonds, which would mean that if we have an interest in it, we just bid on it at the bond sale. I mean, we've spent 4 years trying to get this thing resolved anyway.
Well, I understand it. I just hoping we weren't going to give up on it.
I don't think we're going to give up on trying to work through Fleetwood, it looks like.
Okay.
I think what they're going to do, and my recommendation was that we just go ahead and foreclose on the bond and then get that done. Because we could have done that. It would take about 9 months to a year to get it done, but you could have done that already. We would have been time ahead.
I've had a couple of inquiries to myself that I've turned over to Josh Tubbs, as a matter of fact.
The first problem I experienced, I called them, wanted to know why we didn't have insurance on it. We had this theft out here. They said that they didn't feel like they needed any insurance. And I said, well, what if the plant blows down, burns down, what are you going to do then? they keep thinking that we've got credit. This is our bond, and that the county is gonna be liable for it. And I told them, I don't know how many times, that these are not county bonds. These are industrial revenue bonds, similar to what you're fixing to do for the Baptist group that is here today. The credit of the county and the city are not on these bonds. And I don't know why they haven't understood that at this point. But these are strictly, were based on the income that Fleetwood put into the rent payments. And that rent payment that they were making on a monthly basis, which was tax deductible for them to pay off the bond. At the end of the lease term, they bought the property for $1. And that was, it's an industrial revenue bond. And I just cannot understand why they don't get that through their head. But hopefully, we'll get our $10,000 back, because I told them that we wanted the money back. And they couldn't get the deed. And so when that money comes back, I'll turn it over to Emily and go back to county treasurer. And then I've instructed them, as far as we're concerned, we're not doing anything else on it. We expect George to foreclose on the bond, and we'll be a bidder at the sale.
Okay.
So I'm sorry we couldn't get anything done, but when you're working through bankruptcy in California, it was a nightmare.
I understand.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marty. Let's move into correspondence. Or is there anybody else? Let's move into correspondence. From the chairman of the Marshall County Park Board, Danny Nelson. Dear Mike, Ricky Denphip's term as a member of the Marshall County Park Board will expire on October 31st, 2013. As Ricky has agreed to serve another 4-year term, it is the Park Board's recommendation that the fiscal court reappoint Ricky to the board. Please consider this matter at your next court meeting and advise the Marshall County Park Board accordingly. The recommendation is to reappoint Rick Denphip. Do I hear a motion?
Make that motion, Judge.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, the 17th Annual West Kentucky Health Fair will be held October the 24th at the Joe Creason Community Center. The health fair will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This annual event is sponsored by the West Kentucky Retiree Council, UAW, and co-sponsored by the Marshall County Health Department and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. The fair is open to all ages and is to assist area residents in living a healthy lifestyle. There will be many providers offering free service such as diabetes screening, vision screening, skin cancer awareness, osteoporosis screening, blood pressure checks, grip strength, balance assessment, and much more. Murray-Callaway County Hospital is offering free complete cholesterol, diabetes, and PSA screenings. 12 hours of fasting is required for that screening. If you're on medication, you may take those. The Marshall County Health Department will also be conducting a flu clinic with flu injections available for a fee of $25. All those on Medicare should bring their cards with them, as Medicare covers the fee for flu shots. Insurance cards are also accepted if not on Medicare. The Lions Club, the Draftonville Lions Club will be accepting old glasses and frames. This is a great thing, and our council, our UAW Retirees Council, works very hard on this. We've got Marshall County Health Department, Murray-Callaway County Hospital, Marshall County Hospital, Dr. Tiffany Riley, American Red Cross, Dr. Bradley Albertson, American Cancer Society, Baptist Home Health Agency, just on and on and on. People that are going to be there. It's a big thing. I don't recall how many people we served last year, but it was a big amount. So get there early, but make your plans to attend the health fair. Let's move into old business. You've received the minutes of the October 1st, and October 3rd meetings of the fiscal court. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved, Judge.
Have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, we have a draft resolution, and it's rather lengthy. I don't want to, well, it's not all that lengthy. I'll just read it. This is in regard to TVA in lieu of tax payments. This is a resolution of the city, counties of Kentucky, urging the Kentucky General Assembly to pass legislation during the 2014 regular session which redirects a portion of the in lieu of tax payments the Tennessee Valley Authority pays to the state for economic development and job creation purposes. Whereas as a result of the Great Depression, the United States Congress in 1933 passed the Tennessee Valley Authority Act to address a wide range of environmental, economic, and technological issues, including the delivery of low-cost electricity and the management of natural resources. And whereas the TVA provides power or holds other assets in all or a portion of 36 counties in south central, western, and parts of eastern Kentucky, where TVA provides electricity to over 200,000 Kentucky households, including a coverage area of over 10,000 square miles of Kentucky's land and waterways. And whereas the TVA manages recreational, natural, and cultural resources on more than 60,000 acres of public land around the Kentucky Reservoir, partnering with the local and regional stakeholders to provide water quality and conditions. And whereas in 2012, the TVA paid over $45 million in lieu of taxes to Kentucky's state coffers. And whereas the purpose of TVA in lieu of tax payments is to improve the communities TVA serves by creating jobs and economic expansion to help perpetuate the viability and growth of TVA services in the region. And whereas the most recent economic recession in the United States has caused substantial financial hardships on all of Kentucky's families and businesses. And whereas as of August 2013, the unemployment rate in TVA counties averaged 8.6% compared to 7.8% statewide. Whereas Kentucky counties in the TVA service area often lack the necessary funds to provide the local match requirements for most grant programs require. And whereas we applaud the leadership of Representative Wilson Stone, who understands the challenges of rural TVA counties to attract jobs and compete in the global marketplace. And whereas Representative Wilson Stone has pre-filed legislation, BR 138, to help address the need for jobs and economic opportunities in these TVA communities. And whereas BR 138 will redirect a portion of TVA in lieu of tax payments to allow these TVA communities to help themselves in providing jobs and improving economic growth for all of Kentucky. So whereas we urge our State Representative Will Coursey and our Senator Bob Leeper to join Representative Stone in supporting BR 138 as an important job-creating piece of legislation. Now therefore be it resolved this 15th day of October 2013 by the County of Marshall, we hereby urge the General Assembly to pass BR 38 in the 2014 regular session, which redistributes 50% of the state's portion of the TVA in lieu of tax a payment equally to county or regional economic industrial agencies in order to create necessary jobs and provide economic development opportunities for the region. A copy of this resolution will be sent to each member of the Kentucky House of Representatives and to each member of the Kentucky State Senate and the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, let me make sure you understand, this is not coming out of our portion of the TVA in lieu of tax. This will come out of the state's portion. The state takes 30% of the entire in lieu of tax payment to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. They take that off the top, then redistribute what's left with their formula. And I've yet to really know what that formula really is, but the rest is divided to cities, counties, school districts in TVA-served communities. Of course, Muhlenberg County in Kentucky has always got the lion's share because of Paradise Steam Plant there in Muhlenberg. This comes out of the 30% that TVA takes off the top. So to me, I think this is a win-win for counties in the TVA service region.
Judge, speaking of TVA, what's the status of our request for a lease option on the day use part?
Wendy and I are working on the, and Justin are working on the application. Yep, it's quite an involved piece of paperwork.
We have another one coming up. Is it next year?
Yeah, hopefully we can get this one done before we have to start the next one. And it should be basically the same information, I'm assuming, but
I've got a
somebody
meeting.
put a lot of work into creating a lot of questions about something we've been doing for 40 years.
I'm just really curious to see if they keep it around the estimate. There was a little back and forth on, well, this could cost this, and, you know, it may cost that. So I just, before we go into any more agreement processes next
Right.
year, I wanted to
See what
see
it's
how they
actually-
were
what
gonna
the real
hold it
numbers
to.
are.
Right.
Well,
Well, I've got a
we ain't
meeting
even
with Sarah
qualified to get
DeVasier on-
those.
Excuse me, I've got a meeting with Sarah DeVasier on the 21st, so maybe
Okay.
she'll give us some answers. What's your pleasure on the resolution?
Make a motion to approve, Judge.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Now we'll get this. Sled Creek Road update, where are we on that? Have we got that complete and
The gentleman, Mr. Bishop, had explained to Melanie that he was not interested and his neighbors weren't interested in having a cul-de-sac, but I spoke with him this morning just to verify that he is okay with the pavement going down into the last driveway there, and his neighbor's driveway being used as access for anybody that might need to turn around. So I thought we ought to go measure it just to make sure that the state measurements go that distance. And if there's any discrepancy, take that up. But otherwise, I think we've got approval to pave that distance if it meets up, matches up. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, animal control ordinance, you heard
Marty.
Marty this morning, you're only gonna be meeting
Thursday.
Thursday. I did have, and I don't know if I've done it yet. Emily put together, I think all of you got it. I thought I had a copy of it with me. Of some procedures
Okay.
that we put in place. These are receipt procedures for the animal shelter. I've went over them. Jeff has gone over them. And I'm assuming staff has gone over these?
Well, I was giving out this morning, I gave that yesterday, we had a few changes, or wanted to sit down with Emily and talk about a couple other things, and then maybe go with you for the next court meeting. If that's what you guys are, I mean, do we need to approve it in a court meeting?
No, we will need to, but, since we'll be handling the money.
Okay.
But we can, if we're gonna make some changes, let's table this till the next meeting and be ready,
Yeah,
with any tweaking y'all wanna do on it.
it wasn't my intention to have the
No.
approval or anything right now. I just wanted everybody
Right.
to review it and have an opinion and make any changes that we needed to.
Okay. All right, any other old business? Now let's move into new business. We have already covered the Baptist assemblies. The Arts Commission is requesting a drawdown. This is the lease agreement between the Kentucky Association of Counties Finance Corporation as leaseor and the County of Marshall as leasee, dated November 30th, 2012. This is requisition certificate number 7. Is that correct? 2006-87-76.
Yes.
The leasee hereby requests a disbursement from the participant disbursement account in the amount of $2,687.76, and hereby certifies as follows, except that with respect to a disbursement to pay an interest component of the lease rental payment during construction of the project, only the document described in A below will be required. Attached is a statement in the amount and nature of each item, the cost of the project to be paid, and name and address of the payee. I don't have that information, but I'm sure you do. And this is a drawdown of $2,687.76. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved, Judge.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Just to give you a little bit more information, because I told you the last draw, number 6, would be the final one. George Mylon and I did some digging with Keiko, and we were coming up with a slightly different amounts than they had, and they got looking, and in the banking records, there was a slight misappropriation somewhere, and so that we actually had this additional funds, so this is it.
That's what I was wondering.
This
I thought we
completes
were
the
out.
loan and
Okay.
gets everything lined out.
All right, payroll fund, our treasurer's report next.
September 30th, 2013, we had a book balance in the general fund of $389,695.60. The road fund, $922,423.45. The jail fund, $61,710.42. Grant fund, $65,2687. 911 fund, $150,358.62. Occupational tax administrator, $1,660,487.45. Veterans Band Fund, $1,153.97, for a total of $3,192,356.38.
Do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's
Motion
report
approved,
subject to
Judge.
audit?
Motion approved.
Have a
Second.
motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's move next to our payroll fund, accounts receivable report.
As of September 30th, the sheriff's office owes the payroll fund $506,011.02.
By the way, how's the tax collections coming, Ted?
Going very well. Going very well.
You got the bills, let me say, we got the bills out on time. A lot of counties still have not got their
No.
bills out. Some of them won't, it looks like, for a while yet, so compliment the sheriff and the TVA and their diligence in getting our tax bills out prior to right out October 1. I think I
October
got
1st.
mine.
Mhm.
And so collection seems to be going good.
Yeah, as Anita says, you can read these too.
Uh,
You can read these as well too.
Yeah, these new tax bills, I like them better. I do. Motion to approve the accounts receivable report.
Motion approved, Judge.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Intra-fund transfer.
Yes, I'm asking for approval to approve moving $31,250 from occupational tax administrator to the 911 fund that is budgeted. This is a quarterly amount. Also to general fund, $300,000 from occupational tax administrator is also part of what we had budgeted. And then to the jail fund, from the occupational tax administrator, $100,000. I had that only necessary in the event that I may have gotten a check between the time I did this and today, and I have not. There's about $6,000 in the jail fund, so I'll be doing that today. And then the Veterans Band Fund, they only have $1,153 or something in there. That will do them for a couple of months. So it's pretty much inevitable that we're going to have to fund that a little bit, and we have not in the past couple of years because other counties have contributed, plus we had the sale of that van and some other things, so it's time for us to put in some, so I'm asking for $2,500. That will get us through the end of this fiscal year.
And I'll be sending letters out to all the counties
Yes.
again, asking them to re-up their, and they've been real good about it up to this point.
That is the only one that is not budgeted, but it's only $2,500.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the intra-fund transfer?
Motion to approve, Judge.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is the quarterly report,
Encumbrance.
encumbrance report, I'm sorry.
That's okay. General fund had an encumbrance of $20,615.12. Those are September bills that were paid in October. Road fund, $74,997.99. Jail fund, $9,138.49. And 911 fund, $134.47 for a total encumbrance of $104,886.07.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We need this, or do we keep this?
That one was-
You. No.
We both keep a
Oh.
copy.
All right, now we go to our quarterly report.
Our quarterly report, this reflects our standing as of September 30th, what we submit to DLG. We have a total ending cash balance of $3,192,356.38. Balances with my September 30th treasury. It's the same information. This is just in a format that we send to DLG, and it also lists our appropriation and our receipts report with it.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the quarterly report.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries, I sign both of these.
Yes.
Our animal shelter report for September. Animal Animals in the pen as of 8/30/13 was 51. Animals brought in by wardens, 33. Animals brought in by citizens, 61. Total of 94. 20 dogs, 23 cats, 23 puppies, 28 kittens. Animals adopted, 72. Animals in foster care, 2. Animals reclaimed, 1. Animals euthanized, 16. Animals in the pen of 9, as of 9/30/13 is 56. And the adoption fees are $1,055. Any questions on the animal shelter report? Need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the report, Judge.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. You've all received and had a chance to take a look at the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bills, Judge.
Second.
Motion and second to pay the bills. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Oh, the city of Benton asked that we, if we would, split the cost on the rent of the portable toilets down at, where they're building the, new Children's Arts Center. It's gonna be about $41 and something. We've got one bill here, it's $83.75, half of that, and then there'll be one more month of it, according to them.
Make a motion to pay it, Judge.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
It's not worth fighting over it.
There's a meeting today, I believe, with the tourism
Yes.
group. Are you gonna have to be in Madisonville, or you?
Lacey went to Madisonville, so I can go this.
Okay, so you and Misty will be covering that for us. What's they call
Branding.
it? Some
Branding.
branding.
Yes.
It's a comprehensive program to include all the cities, the county, the Chamber of Commerce. Just about, I don't know what all it entails, but we will have 2 representatives there representing the fiscal court. So I guess y'all will report back to us
Yes.
at the next meeting, because I think they're gonna be asking for help in funding.
Yes, it would be a cooperative, very cooperative,
agreement
yes.
between everybody.
Yes.
So hopefully if everybody will agree, the cities, the counties, the chamber, and others, it will not be overly burdensome on everybody. Any other business come before the court?
Do we need to go through applications, Judge, since those closed today for the shelter position?
Yeah, we can.
And maybe set up a date to do interviews or?
Yeah, we can do that after the meeting if you
Okay.
want to. Why don't we do that? Can y'all have a few minutes? We can just,
Well, if you're gonna do it together, you're gonna need to go into closed session and then come back out. And you
Okay.
can't just go meet after the meeting.
Well, Jeff, that's just no fun.
Russell?
I know, those damn statutes
Wait a
just
minute.
trip you up every day.
Russell and I had a couple of items.
We had a guy come out to service all the heaters and stuff at the road department, and he told us that 5 out of the 8 that's in the shop is bad. Heat chambers is burnt up, and by law, I think they have to be shut down. And I didn't know if I had to have approval from y'all to get new ones since they was under the bid process or what.
And he suggested we get 4 of those new units, Russ?
3
3.
infrared heaters is what they're talking about. So
And
they'd
Will
be-
it replace all of them, or will that, you still have some gas?
it would replace every one of them.
Russell, on that, generally, way they've handled that in the past, an extraordinary thing is up, they usually review in court. Technically, if there's budgeted money, then that can, the judge can authorize that. But like I say, traditionally, extraordinary matters, it'd have to come before.
$4,800 takes care of
Yeah, it's not a.
all three of them.
It's not a big deal, but I thought we need to run it by the court, let you know what we're doing. Anybody have a problem with that?
It's in the budget, right?
Yeah. So, Russell, you go ahead and take care of that. Was there anything else?
No, no.
All right.
What do we need to do on the, we voted last time to hire, but we didn't really talk about where the money was coming from. 3 employees. That's gonna shift our budget significantly at the road department and personnel judge. Do we need to look at, options on funding for that? I mean, you're talking probably, what, $120,000 offset? Is that,
I'm figuring it probably, depends on when the other employees are retiring. I don't know that, so it's hard to say. But I think it may be, and it depends on their health insurance elections and things like that, but it could be upwards to 150.
so do we need to maybe wait until we have open enrollment and then get a better idea of what we'll be looking at?
We can do that, we can do that, and we can,
We can transfer from compensation next fund to
yes, there are reserves that
There
you
are
can
reserves.
transfer from to pull
we
that
can make
cover.
intergovernmental transfers to
Right.
handle this.
Or we can wait until the salary line item that we already have budgeted is
Starts to
closer
get close,
exhausted.
okay.
And we could see where we were, you know, if there are monies that we haven't used at that time to
Kinda switch and
avoid
transfer,
reserves,
okay.
You know, but you do have options there.
I just didn't want him to get close on that line item before we realized that we
Right.
needed to move
Right.
some stuff around and put him over in that budget. Because you've hired,
Yeah.
and then the shirts we needed to discuss. Whenever we first brought that up, and I was discussing it with Bob, when we first brought that up, we brought it up along with the safety lights. And we talked about taking that out of funding for like safety, basically. And I don't know that that should be part of that per diem. I mean, it's a shirt that's specifically for their safety and only used, I mean, I can't imagine they'd wear them anywhere else. They're fluorescent green like the state has. So how can we make sure that that's not compromising what's taxable, what's not? We got into that issue last time, so we gave them a per diem so that they could buy uniform
Exact-
items.
Yes, yes.
Would the shirts not then be something that we could provide because they're not standard wear except for when they're,
I think the shirts are providable
Mhm.
as safety equipment. My concern is that it changes their per diem. It makes them more similar to the park. If we're providing their shirts, the park provides their shirts.
Mhm.
And I don't want to create a big rift in employees where one department gets one amount and another department gets a different amount.
what's the differential between what they would be getting? I mean, you're talking probably another $8 per shirt, $9 a shirt, something like that. What's the differential between them and what the parks would have?
The stipend that we paid to the Parks Department was $90 a year for uniforms because they only received the pants. The Road Department received $150, I believe it is. Maybe $180, I can't remember. One of those two. I think it was $150 though, per year because they were receiving shirts and pants. And if we change that, where now they're just receiving pants, in my opinion, it makes them equivalent to what they should be getting, what the park is getting.
Is there a different safety aspect though with them working out on the roadways as opposed to what the park workers are encountering inside the park
Well,
limits?
you're gonna come up on safety issues anywhere. But if you're out on a road flagging, or you're doing road work, yeah, it is a lot more, I'd say, more dangerous than what the guys do in the park. However, people sometimes will speed in the park just
Sure.
as well as they will out there on the highway. So I don't wanna minimize
No.
No, I'm not.
the safety of my guys, girls out in the park. But being out on the open road, yeah, it's a lot more dangerous, I'd say.
Yeah, and I'm not debating to provide the shirts or not provide the shirts.
Right.
That is, you all wanted to provide the shirts, that is absolutely fine. But the stipend is, I don't feel like we should pay, and this is, again, y'all's choice, I don't feel like we should give the road department employees the same amount as we gave them last year if we are now providing shirts. I feel like instead of them getting $150 a year, they need to get the same amount as the Parks Department, which is $90 a year, because they are no longer expected to provide their own shirts. We are now providing them for them with the safety shirts.
Did you all used to provide your own t-shirts, or was that part of Airmark?
Yeah, when we restructured.
Yeah, they furnished
Right,
everything.
they did everything, didn't they?
Yeah, when we restructured the road department, we weren't providing the shirts, so we gave the employees a stipend to purchase their own shirts.
To me, it's a safety issue. I mean, I guess I'd rather see us, in the whole scope of things, it's $10 an employee. I'd almost rather see us take it out of the safety line item and not take away their stipend. I don't think they understood it to be that way. I think they understood it as a concern that was brought up in court. And if they had to elect whether or not to use their stipend to buy those shirts, they probably wouldn't.
Right.
Which I think is a safety issue because I think they need them. So can you mandate what they buy with that stipend? Probably not.
No.
Which would be an issue because they need the safety shirts, I think.
Right. I think if we don't want to reduce, I think if we do not reduce the road department stipend, we've created an inequality with the Parks Department where.
But there are certain things, you may not be able to tell them what kind of shirt to buy. But I think certainly we can tell them what they're gonna wear when they're out there on the road.
Yeah.
For safety purposes, and there's vests that you can get.
Yeah.
That they should be required to wear anyway when they're on the road, working.
But the stipend.
That has nothing to do with that.
Right, the stipend then would be to purchase pants.
Everybody thoroughly confused?
Yeah.
Me too.
I think
too.
what
have
I need to know,
Where we
what
are.
I need to know is how much do I pay the employees? Do I carry over the same amounts as last year? Or do I use different amounts now?
Are there different shirts that they purchase besides the fluorescent shirts that were provided to
Some
them?
fluorescent colored shirts, is what we got.
Like with the
When
stipend?
Yes, when y'all told me to get them, I got them 3 shirts per person.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't told that it was gonna come out of our regular clothing allowance. That it would come out of the safety budget.
And it has, it's just.
You feel like if we're gonna buy the shirts, it needs to be coming out of their stipend?
Well, we no longer need to provide a shirt stipend if
If
we
we're
are,
gonna
if
do
we are
that.
providing
Yeah,
shirts.
that's why I was asking, are there different shirts? Do they still purchase shirts with that stipend? No.
Okay, anything else?
I mean, I think we need to resolve this, Judge, before because the guys are a little upset about the way it's, the limbo, I guess, so I guess we need to make a decision.
And you all could choose to raise the entire stipend, the Parks Department into what the road department, we can make the pants stipend $150.
I think the road department gets more stipend than they do. I mean, we pay for their shirts out of our budget. I require them to wear them.
Yeah, I think last year there wasn't an issue because we didn't.
You got a
provide
big
road
issue with your man over this, Russell?
Well, I found out after we bought all of them, she was gonna lower our, our regular yearly allowance for clothes. Then when I was told to get them, it wasn't explained to me that way.
But,
I'm just trying to take care of an issue before they do get them.
but
Yeah.
we have provided each man, if I understand what you're saying, each employee, 3 shirts.
And 3 summer and 3 winter.
So 6
6
shirts. 3 summer, 3 winter.
Yeah, but if I'm understanding Emily correctly, Judge, the reason theirs is higher is because we're providing shirts and pants, right?
Because
We
the
were.
road department employees were providing their own shirts and pants.
Yeah, but initially, we were going through Airmark and providing that.
Yes.
Is that why it's still the same?
No, we stopped paying Airmark for their shirts and
Right.
pants. And gave the men a stipend of
But that was
$150
to
to
include
provide their
shirts.
own
Yes.
shirts and pants. And this,
The park bought their personnel shirts, and so the
Right.
stipend for the
So-
park was just for pants.
exactly.
Now, we bought the road department shirts, and you think the stipend for the road department should just be for pants?
If we're gonna be fair.
Yes.
See, I thought they had other shirts that maybe they were purchasing, and the safety shirts were something different. You know, I wasn't really sure what they wore in the wintertime. I didn't know if you had different, that's why I was unclear on why we would be taking the stipend away. But I see what you're saying. We're buying the shirts, so that's what was apportioned into the
So
stipend.
what we're saying now is we're gonna buy this, we'll have a stipend for pants for the road department and the parks department. It will be the same. You provide shirts, you provide shirts. It comes out of your paycheck, Russell.
Is that gonna be,
No, I
I
mean-
mean, and then the issue is that they didn't understand that going into this cycle when they, whatever, determined how they wanted to handle it, they didn't know that that was the way it was gonna be.
Well, I think it only makes sense if you're gonna buy 6 shirts
I understand.
for the employees, expect them to wear them. Why would they think they deserve to go out and buy a polo shirt on their dime? That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, as long as we're treating both entities fairly and the same, I think it'll be all right.
So what would the new stipend be?
If you all wanted to not upset the road department where they didn't understand that it would change, you all could choose to move the park up to the same stipend that the road department receives, because now they're both just getting a stipend for pants, which would increase the stipend to $150 for pants
Annually.
annually, yes. And we usually issue that check the end of this month, which is part of the reason we're discussing it right now. It is taxable, yes.
Yes.
It was taxed last year, yes.
I don't know.
What's your pleasure?
I think it should all get the same. I mean, that's
I'm
fair.
with you, Terry. That way it takes out any confusion.
Right.
And then we can, if we raise them up, then we can, if we decide that's too much, we can change the next budget cycle.
And I do see $150 annually to buy all your jeans for work is not a lot when they were used to having Aramark provide them anytime they needed them. When you're talking, that's not even a one pair of jeans, a month.
Yeah,
at
and a
$20.
lot of the men, I think, some of the men have contracted individually with Aramark for that service still,
Okay.
but that they pay for.
So what do we need, a motion to increase the park?
Need a motion to increase the parks to be equal to the road department stipend for pants, trousers, jeans.
Can I make that motion?
And Larry's gonna pay for it.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's go down, and we have some applications to look at.
We're in executive session?
Yeah.
Motion to go into executive session.
Have a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second, to go into executive session, personnel matter.